Hi everybody, what's up? My name is Juan, I am just one reader, and I am really excited because this is going to be my conclusion video for my series Rereading Harry Potter as an Adult. So this is a video that I have been preparing for the past year. I started this reread I think it was in September of 2016, and I just finished rereading the series in August of 2017. So it was almost a year of rereading, and it was a great experience. So without any further ado, let me tell you my conclusions, and then at the end of the video, I will tell you what is my new ranking of the Harry Potter books, which is going to be a point of discussion for some people, and it's going to be quite a controversial ranking of the books because there are definitely some surprises, I think. So starting with my overall conclusions. One thing that I immediately realized when rereading the Harry Potter books is that as I have grown as a reader, the things that I'm looking forward to reading or the things that I like in books have changed somewhat over time, and that definitely applies to the Harry Potter books. So for example, when I was younger, when I was a child or a young teen, I was looking for the excitement of Harry Potter, the very fast-paced plots, the whimsical characters, the funny words, the quirky things that you can find, and all those quirky little details. However, this time around in this reread, I found myself liking those bits, but really caring much more about the character development, the writing style, the slower paced, more intimate, more personal, meandering aspects of the books, and of course the more adult dark themes. So that is why, for example, some of the earlier books in the series that are a lot lighter in tone did not appeal to me as much now as they did back then. Of course, something else that dramatically changed this time around was that I was not reading the books solely for the purpose of enjoying the books or just to find out what was going to happen, because I already know what happens in the end. I have read the series plenty of times. So this time around, I was really looking for something extra, to think critically about what I was reading and not take things at surface value only, but really sort of dig deeper and think critically. So an example of this was that I was able to pick up on more social commentary that J.K. Rowling sometimes addresses. An example of this was the character of Remus Lupin, who in this reread I decided to interpret as a metaphor or a symbol to represent homosexuality. If you really think about it, it makes perfect sense. Before I tell you my ranking of the books, I just want to mention characters, because there was a big change in my appreciation of certain characters. Basically, there were characters that I was surprised to see how much I loved them this time around and how much I enjoyed their presence this time around when, you know, in previous rereads, I had liked them but not loved them. So, for example, these characters might be McGonagall, Trelawney, Umbridge, and the Weasleys. I think Ron, the twins, Fred and George, and also the Weasley parents were characters that were kind of in the background, and when I was reading the Harry Potter books as a younger person, I sort of enjoyed them, but I never really loved them. And this time around, I loved them. I really cared a lot more about Ron. I certainly appreciated him and loved him more than I ever did before. And the same thing for the Weasley twins. I sort of liked them before, but this time around I adored them. And spoiler alert, when Fred died in book 7, it really moved me in a different way. Also the Weasley parents, Molly and Arthur, I think I was able to think more critically about them and about what J.K. Rowling is trying to say with those characters. Now, going to the negative side of things, there were also some characters that really disappointed me or let me down because I remembered them more fleshed out or more present in the books than they actually were. So for example, the Triwizard Champions, Victor Crumb, Fleur Delacour, Cedric Diggory, they were not really there. I sort of remembered them being much more important or present than they were. Same thing for Tonks, for Mad-Eye Moody, who, if you really think about it, is not really there in the series all that much. And also Luna Lovegood. Luna Lovegood was a character that really let me down this time around because I always loved her. And this time around, I sort of enjoyed her as a comic relief, quirky kind of character. So now the moment we've all been waiting for, I certainly have. This is my new ranking of the Harry Potter books. You have to put this into context. This is not the ultimate Harry Potter ranking. This is just my current ranking, considering that I just spent a year of my life rereading these books, and this ranking might change in the future whenever I decide to reread them, or it might not change. Who knows? This is just my current ranking. So I'm going to start with the book that I enjoyed the least and work my way up to the book that I loved the most. Suffice it to say that all of these books received between 4 stars and 5 stars. Even the ones that I felt kind of negatively about, the ones that I enjoyed the least, I still gave them 4 stars because they're still Harry Potter books. I still have so much emotional attachment to them that I couldn't give them less than 4 stars. By the way, I will be showing you the editions that I read in this particular reread because I think that just makes it a lot more fun. So let's get started. Coming in at number 7 is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. This was kind of a disappointment because I remembered loving this book so much, and reading it this time around, I was very let down. Mainly, my biggest problem with this book in this reread was that there was a lot of exposition, a lot of mysteries revealed, and a lot of info dumps that were really cool the first times that I read the book, but this time around it just kind of detracted a little bit from the enjoyment of my experience. And for example, Harry spends a lot of time thinking and obsessing over Draco Malfoy and what he's up to, what he's doing, and so I just kind of felt that plot really disappointed me, but I still gave it 4 stars. Coming in at number 6 is Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone or Sorcerer's Stone. I'm gonna say Philosopher's because I read the British version. It's kind of weird to put this book so low in the ranking, but I just have to admit that this book felt very childlike in tone. Some of the characterization felt a little bit cartoonish, like the Dursleys, for example, or Dumbledore at first is very cartoonishly depicted, but I still think this is a perfectly enjoyable book. It is by miles better than Half-Blood Prince in my opinion, so there's a big gap between the Half-Blood Prince and this for me. I still feel like this is a perfectly enjoyable little book. I just found it a little bit too childlike for me. And yes, I gave it 4 stars. Coming in at number 5 is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I read the beautiful Jim Kay illustrated edition, and I thought this was quite a step up from book 1, from the Philosopher's Stone. I think this was much better. I think it was much better written. I really loved the characters. They felt more like characters, not so much like cartoons. I really enjoyed all the themes, which are more adult, all the themes that come into play, like racism and, you know, the whole mudblood, muggle business. I also really liked how J.K. Rowling really balanced perfectly and seamlessly the lighthearted, funny moments with the really dark, violent, dangerous things that are happening in this book. This is a book that makes you laugh, but also makes you really terrified. It's kind of a very well-balanced act, I think. And also, this book features one of my favorite, most ridiculous characters ever in the series, Gilderoy Lockhart. So I loved it, and I gave it 4 stars. Coming in at number 4 is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. This is the last book in the series. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was not going to be as enjoyable this time around, but it was. It wasn't as great as others because a lot of this book's success relied on the mysteries that it has to answer. But I still found it very enjoyable and really rich in adult themes and in character development. We certainly get to integrate some very central characters such as Dumbledore, and I really appreciated this book for that as well. I gave it 4 stars, and I do have some problems and some issues with the resolution and the conclusion to the series, or lack thereof. And of course, there's the whole epilogue, which is a big can of worms that I refuse to open in this video. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was 4 stars. Now we're down to the nitty-gritty, the top 3. And I have to say, there is a really big gap between the books that I have just mentioned and the top 3. Like, the top 3, I think, are significantly better than the rest. So coming in at number 3 is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. This book is lovely. It's just magical. It is exuberant, and it dazzles you with its magic. The thing that I loved the most about this book, more than the puzzle and the mystery and all the answers and questions and mysteries, the thing that I really loved about this book is that this is the big moment in which Hogwarts feels alive and detailed and rich, and you sort of get this feeling of wonderment in every page. It's just magical, and this is the book where Hogwarts feels like the place that you really want to be. It's a beautiful book, and I think it is amazing. I gave it 4 stars, still not 5 stars, but yeah, I loved it. Coming in at number 2, and this was so difficult for me to rank, but I decided to put Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire in the second place. I still think this is one of my favorite books of all time. The problem was, this used to be my favorite book in the series. It was for my entire life. This is the first time that it falls into the second place. I think that was not so much because of this book's fault. It was more because I enjoyed the other book that I will talk about in a second a lot much more. And I still think this is a perfect book. It has everything that I like. It has all those ingredients. I maybe felt like some characters were not as fleshed out as I remembered them being, like the Triwizard Champions, but I still feel like this is one of those books that I will keep on rereading forever. And duh, I gave it 5 stars. And so yes, coming in at number 1, it's Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. This is my new favorite book in the series, and this is potentially a controversy with many people, because I know for a fact that a lot of people, a lot of readers, consider this the least favorite or the worst Harry Potter book, and I strongly disagree. I think this just ticked all the right boxes for me as the adult reader that I am, or that I am becoming. This was perhaps the most literary of the books, if you could call it that. It was the one that focused much more on the slower paced, more meandering thoughts of Harry, the slower, intimate, personal scenes, internal dialogue, very closed scenes with a lot of dialogue, very interesting dialogue. It's the longest. It has beautiful imagery, beautiful writing. The battle at the end at the Ministry of Magic, Dumbledore and Voldemort, I think it's such an intense scene. I love everything about this book. This was the best experience that I had rereading the Harry Potter books this year. I just adored it from the very first paragraph until the very last. So I gave it 5 stars, and I know it's kind of a controversy, but I loved it. So that was it for my conclusion of rereading Harry Potter as an adult. Thank you very much for watching this series and for watching this last episode. Now, I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below, because I know you guys. I know you probably have a lot of thoughts about Harry Potter, whether they be positive or negative. Maybe you haven't read the series and you are thinking about it, about starting the series. Please let me know all of your meandering thoughts in the comments down below, so we can have this important discussion, because I think Harry Potter is such a valued thing here in BookTube. A lot of people really love it. So it's important to talk about the things we love, but to talk about them and to think about them critically, not just love them and put them on a pedestal, but to openly discuss them and interpret things. So I'm Just One Reader, and that was it for this series. Thank you very much for watching.